Kyle, another situation I know you've done some work on is Puerto Rico. Are you positioned in Puerto Rico at all? No. So help me understand why. Why is it that you looked at Puerto Rico and didn't find anything attractive, whereas so many other hedge funds did, and now they're kind of stuck?
Yeah. So you and I have talked about this offline. Puerto Rico is just a simple math 101 question, the way that we see it at our firm. Puerto Rico has $70 billion worth of on-balance sheet debts. They have about $30 billion of off-balance sheet unfunded pension liabilities that are acute. So they have $100 billion worth of debt. There's only 3.5 million people in Puerto Rico. There only 1.4 million of them have a job. And about 60–70% of those people work for the government. So
a situation made vastly worse by Hurricane Maria.
Yeah, and look, the hurricane is a tragedy. It's a disaster. And I think that the Trump administration and the United States should be doing everything we can do to help them. These are two different questions. One is, should we help with the hurricane? Absolutely, we should do everything possible. But on the debt question, I just think you have to be a little crazy to think that $100 billion worth of debt, or even $70 billion of on-balance sheet debt, is worth anything with 1.4 million workers in an economy like Puerto Rico's.
So if you were holding Puerto Rican debt today, whether it's the general obligation bonds, whether it's the PREPA bonds, whether it's the COFINA bonds, what would you be marking them down to?
Well, I mean, didn't they trade down?
They traded into the 30s.
I just got back from Greece, as you know. So I heard last week that they traded, materially lower, 20% lower in a day or so. I mean,
and even lower since the president talked about wiping out Puerto Rican debt.
Yeah, when you look at sovereigns and you look at the history of sovereign defaults, recoveries in wipeouts are 10 to 20 cents on the dollar. That's what I think people are going to end up with.
10 to 20 cents on the dollar in Puerto Rico.
Yeah. I mean, again, each situation is a little different, but just in the big picture, there's $70 billion worth of debt. There's 1.4 million people that work. We understand these things. Sovereigns are all asset heavy, but you're not going to have a sovereign sell all of its assets to pay external creditors. They're going to get as many hedge funds in there as they can, and then they're going to default. That's what they're doing.
Does it make any sense to you that many hedge funds piled into Puerto Rican debt?
It does, because there are a lot of these special situation funds, many of them, I know pretty well, that love working on things like this, and they're the people that hold sovereigns hostage, and they have holdout positions, and they drag people through the courts, and they're wise guys. But in the end, what's the true value? I saw a Bloomberg piece that day that Trump spoke that said, he's calling into question the $3.8 trillion muni market. No, he's not. He's being pragmatic here and saying they can't repay this debt. We're going to have to wipe it out. And he's not calling the whole muni market out because it doesn't have the same financial characteristics. So I think it's going to be getting wiped out.